So it's 3 o'clock. I think we can start. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Justin from the International Office at Jönköping University. Before we begin, some practical information. This session will be recorded, and later we will put a copy of this feed onto our JU web in next few days. Kindly ask all of your questions at the Q&A function on Zoom. We will answer all of the questions at the end of this webinar. Today, we'll discuss and gain insight information on our pathway application process. Before I invite my guest from admissions office to speak on the topic, I would just like to give you a quick overview of what pathway program is. Pathway programs are preparatory courses designed to help international students meet the requirements needed to enter a bachelor's or master's degree programs at Jönköping University. If you meet some of the academic requirements for a degree program at Jönköping University, but lack the required level in other areas such as English, high school mathematics, you may apply to one of our pathway programs. We will provide you with the necessary skills for your academic journey and enable you to reach your full academic and social potential while in Sweden. In addition, the pathway programs provide study skills and knowledge of the Swedish environment for you to meet the expectations of university studies in Sweden. Learning is based on a combination of activities such as lecture-based input, seminars, study visits, projects, and guidance. Dedicated teachers, small student groups, and supportive learning environment with continuous feedback will provide you with an excellent framework to succeed in your studies. So let's begin by finally welcoming Charlotte Carlson, an expert from the admissions department, to speak about how to apply for pathway programs. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you. Welcome to this webinar where we're going to talk about your pathway to Jönköping University. I'm going to share my screen so that I can show you the information that is important. All right. So let's get started. To be eligible in the English language requirement for studies in Sweden, you have to have a certain level. So if you don't meet the English requirements, when your English test results are not sufficient, that's why we have our pathway programs. And we have the requirements for the pathway programs on our website, and we're going to look at that later. Now, you can apply to pathway program in combination with a bachelor or master program at Jönköping University. So if you want to continue to study at Jönköping University, you should apply to pathway and a bachelor or a master program. And that way you get pre-assessed for that follow-up program in the beginning. And if you succeed in your pathway studies, then you will have guaranteed admission in the program as long as the program hasn't been canceled or changed very much. Sometimes, because the pathway, you're planning for such a long time in advance that sometimes programs are canceled, but this happens very rarely. So the pathway programs are held at Campus Gränna. And Gränna is a smaller town, smaller than Jönköping, about 40 minutes to an hour by bus. And Gränna, the campus is within walking distance from the student accommodation. So in a way, you're living on campus at Campus Gränna. And some of these buildings, they date back to the 18th and 19th century. Accommodation for students includes separate rooms where you share the kitchen and bathrooms. But the bathrooms are, one person at a time, of course. You don't share. And this accommodation is just for the students at Campus Gränna and in Pathway. So if you're planning on bringing family, they can't live on campus, and you have to organize accommodation for them separately. The cost of the Pathway programs include half board, that is lunch and dinner and accommodation. And so the boarding fee also includes bus pass, student union fee, things like that. So lunch and dinner served in the restaurant on campus. Breakfast and any late meals can be prepared in the student kitchens in the accommodation. Meals off campus are generally not included in the fees. It's a fairly safe place to live, and there's an accommodation manager on campus during the evening and early nights to help with practical matters. There's a local health center located close to campus if anything were to happen, which we hope not, but it's not far, so it's easy to get to. And the admissions office, we can't answer questions when it comes to the campus more than what can be found online. So if you do have questions about the campus, the best way is to contact the Pathway programs through their Facebook website. And that way you can pose questions there, and they can answer the questions that you have, since they are the ones that are on campus in Gränna all the time. There's not just one pathway program. There are several different types. We have Pathway Summer Course. That's a 4-week course where the minimum English requirement is IELTS 6.0 with no part below 5.5. Basically, this is if you're just not quite there with your English, but if you fulfill the English requirement, you can do the Pathway Summer Course as well, because not only does the Pathway Summer Course give you the English requirement necessary for enrollment in degree programs at Jönköping University and other universities in Sweden, it also helps you to get used to the Swedish culture, making it a bit easier to live and study in Sweden. It also helps you to adjust to the demands, the challenges, and the expectations of the Swedish higher education. The total fee for Pathway Summer is 35,000 Swedish kronor, where then it's tuition fee if you're from a country outside the EU, and then the boarding fee, which everyone has to pay, even if you're an EU citizen that doesn't have to pay tuition fee. So the pathway programs and the pathway summer course are held at Campus Gränna, which is a boarding school. Now, if your English is a little bit lower than that, there's pathway semester English. So that's something that it's August until December pathway program, semester program. And that means that if you have a conditional offer for Jönköping University for the autumn, then this pathway semester, it ends in December. So that means that you have a gap semester. Basically, you return home after your completed studies. If you don't have a conditional offer to Jönköping, it gives you time to go home and apply for the autumn of 2023 at other universities in Sweden and prepare for a longer stay later on. So the minimum English requirement here is an IELTS of 5.5, where no part can be below 5.0 or the equivalence. We're going to look at the English requirements on the website a little bit later. So again, the pathway semester gives you, in addition to English language that you need, and understanding Swedish culture, and adjusting to higher education in Sweden and the Nordic countries. It also gives you the opportunity to get basic knowledge in the Swedish language. So there's a short Swedish course in there too. So the pathway program fee for pathway semester English is 99,500, where of course you have the boarding fee that's part of it, and then the tuition fee for non-EU citizens. Then, of course, there's a possibility to do a full year, which is called Pathway Year General, and that runs from August until June the following year. It has the same English requirements as Pathway Semester English, and basically it gives you the same support that Pathway Semester English does. But what happens is that after the first semester, which is basically Pathway Semester English, then you have a spring semester with elective courses. Block 1 here, that is the first semester, the autumn semester. There you have an option to choose to either do the Swedish course, which is called Pathway Swedish 1, or Pathway Mathematics if you need mathematics at high school level to be eligible for our business bachelor programs in business. There's also a possibility to study Pathway BIM, that is Building Information Management. So a student who is interested in our master program, Sustainable Building Information Management, can study the Pathway BIM 1 course and Pathway BIM 2 in the spring, and to help you in the next step, your studies at JU. But during this second semester, there are more elective courses, like culture and society in English language, and gender geographies, and study skills, and things like that. And the electives are chosen after you've started. So you have to start first, and then you get to choose what you want to study from the elective courses. If you have applied for Pathway Plus, one of our bachelor programs in business, and don't have the necessary mathematics, then the Pathway Mathematics might be required and not part of the electives. And because of the elective semester, the second semester, the tuition is a bit higher. It's for the full year, 215,000 Swedish kroner, which includes then the boarding fee for a full academic year and the tuition fee for those 2 semesters. So that's if you want to study for a full academic year and not just Pathway semester English. Of course, if your English is not quite at that level, we have another option, which is the Pathway Year English program, which runs from August until May. So the minimum English requirement is lower, IELTS 5.0, no part below 4.5. And in the first semester, you do have some elective courses. You can choose to study Swedish in the first semester and Swedish 2 in the second semester, or Pathway Mathematics in the first semester, and then another course in the spring semester. So again, mathematics, if you need it for our bachelor programs in business. So the Pathway Year English will again give you the English language preparation that you need for Jönköping University and other Swedish universities. And here it's the first semester is basically the, English, and then the second semester in the spring is the same English level that Pathway semester English is. So basically the autumn semester of Pathway Year English is to get you to the same level as if you had an IELTS of 5.5. Because this is focused on the English language, the program fee is a little lower because you don't have all of those electives of different elective possibilities. The boarding fee is the same though. When you do want to apply, you should prepare your documents, your passport, letter of motivation, why you want to study Pathway, and perhaps a program at JU. The proof of English, your test results that shows what level you need to do. And then, of course, your schooling documents, your high school documents or your academic documents, depending on if you're applying to a bachelor program after Pathway or a master program after Pathway. So all of the documents, you can scan those and upload to the application. We'll look at that too. They should be color scans of the original document. And if there's text, this has to be easy to read, not fuzzy. So make sure that it's very clear to read. Now, some of the English tests have they require that you make them available to us, but that can be found on the information sites about JU. So the quickest way to get there is ju.se/en/admissions. And that will get you to this website. That has to do with admissions, where we have information about frequently asked questions and currently updated information about the COVID pandemic. But here you have information on how to apply to Pathway. And that gets you to this website. And here it shows there's a link that you can click on to get to our degree programs. You can look at if you are interested in bachelor or master. And further down here, you have when you can apply and what is available to apply for. Pathway Summer, Year General, and the necessary English requirement. Now, we do have, we're partnering with BI Norwegian Business School in Oslo, Norway, and North Park University in Chicago, US. I'm just going to touch on this because if you're interested in those schools, you should go through their websites first to know what you're wanting. But we do have a partnership with them where you do a pathway year here in Sweden in Jönköping first. So when you do want to submit an application, you should decide first, do you want to apply for a pathway only? So that's just pathway and then you go home. Or are you interested in pathway plus a bachelor program, also called undergraduate, or with a master? Because you have to go through these different websites depending on what you're interested in. So for instance, you might want to apply for a pathway plus a bachelor program. Then you get to the site where it has information about required documents, how to submit the documents. Now, there are some countries that have specific requirements where you can't just upload. You sometimes need to send your documents as well. So for high school documents, upper secondary school, you should check the information available through the bachelor's site, website, specific country requirements. What do I need to do? The same for masters, to make sure that you check the specific country requirements depending on what country you have your schooling from. So once you check that you have your documents and that this is pathway and bachelor you want to apply for, that's when you actually go to the application form through apply here. And here you can have two choices. Basically, it's, say you want to, that your English is sufficient enough, and you want to do a pathway year general. You then also want to study international economics, but you want to have a backup plan as well. So you choose again pathway year general, but maybe marketing management. because the places could be filled up. After that, you put your personal details. So your first name, your given name, your family name, your email address, and make sure that you double check your email address, because if you put this wrong, we're not going to be able to contact you. You are required to put in a phone number and an address, but we contact you through the email only. Country belongs to your address, where you're currently living. So where your house is. Nationality is what's listed on your passport. And then your date of birth. Now, in Sweden, we write it with year first, followed by the month and the date. So if you want to make sure that you get it right, you can use this calendar function to find the year when you're born and so on. The civic number space here, you don't have to worry about, because that is basically only if you do have a Swedish personal number, or if you for some reason have studied in Sweden before for something else. If you're unsure, just leave it blank. That's not a problem. Now, if you have applied through university admissions at some point in the last few years, it's good to put your application ID that you had here, because that will help us to identify you. Because in that system, you're getting a temporary ID number that we use throughout Sweden, in most universities in Sweden. And also, if you have to pay application fee and you have applied through university admissions and paid the application fee there, you should put your application ID there and then tell us that you have already paid the application fee. Then you have to show us a receipt that you get from that website. But we will let you know how to do that. Now, if you are paying someone to help you to submit an application, a recruitment consultant, recruitment agent, it's someone who does this for a living. So then it's that person's name or the company name and their email address. So this section is not for you, or if your cousin is helping you. This is for people who do this for a living. That's who should put that there. Proficiency test. This is where you tell us which English test you upload. And these are the tests that we accept. You can also find them again in the listed on this website, like I said. No, under here actually, which tells you. I've been talking about the IELTS, but of course there's the TOEFL, the Pearson, the University of Cambridge. So that depends on your results from that test. The next step for you is to submit your documents. So here it tells you how many files you can upload, and it's just PDF format. And you have to name your documents. And they can't be larger than 10 megabytes per document. So when you browse, then you choose what to upload, and name your documents short names, simple names. If it's an IELTS test, just name it IELTS and put it there. Then you want to add more documents. You click on the plus sign to add more documents. If it's your high school diploma, call it that, high school diploma. If it's, so just use lettering, regular English, give it English names. I have this this as a to show you what not to call it, because if you have 2 and a dot, that's going to make it difficult for us to open the document later on. So just the name, no numbers, and no dots. Numbers, well, it's possible if you have high school grades 2001 or whatever, but not a 2 and a dot. So just like this. So again, if you're required to pay the application fee, that is, you're a citizen of a country outside the European Union or Switzerland or the economic area, then you leave both of these blank, because then you press next, and that will take you to the page where you pay the application fee through a Visa or MasterCard. If you don't have a Visa or MasterCard to pay with, we can help you with the bank transfer. But then you have to click in, I have paid the application fee, basically telling us you want to prepay. Because then if you click next, it will submit the application. Basically, it sends us directly to us. And then we can send you information on how to make the payment. And on the Pathway Program website, you can read about the Pathway programs, do a little quiz, which pathway is right for you, see interviews, read interviews with former Pathway students. There is a limited number of JU scholarships for the Pathway Year program. So it's Pathway Year English or Pathway Year General. And that's just part of the tuition fee part. So not for the boarding fee. But it's again, a limited number. And you have to apply for the scholarship. And that information can be found by clicking on that link, and it tells you what to do, how to apply, and then the application link to apply for the JU scholarship. And that was pretty much what I had to share. And I am having trouble with my camera.
Thanks, Charlotte. So it was, thank you for a very nice session. I think what we can do now is take questions as we discussed earlier when we began this webinar. So please do write your questions on the Q&A session on the Zoom where you see that. And I think we already have first question and we can read that. I have 88 in my TOEFL evaluation, reading 19, listening 27, speaking 21, writing 21. Do I still qualify for the pathway program, or should I apply for a master's with this course, with this score?
You have an 88, and the requirement for TOEFL for bachelor and master programs in Sweden is 90. So with your TOEFL score, you're eligible for Pathway Summer Plus. So you can apply for a Pathway Summer Plus a master program. So you do need some form of pathway.
When can I know about the result of application? So can I apply for 2 programs at the same time? When I write about motivation letters, should I write about each master's course?
Okay. We have a rolling admission. That means that we look at the applications as they have arrived. So, and then as soon as an application is completely reviewed, all the documents are there, and we can make an assessment. If that applicant is eligible, we will give an offer. So depending on if you are, if your application is complete, it can take maybe a month, but it happens ongoing. So you don't have to wait for a certain date to find out. But yeah, we do that as they come in. Apply for 2 programs at the same time. I showed the choices. You can apply for instance, you could apply for Pathway Semester English plus a master program, Digital Business. The second one, you could say Pathway Year General with International Logistics and Supply Chain Management, for instance. You can do that, but the first choice is what we're going to focus on. So if the first choice, if you're eligible and there are places available, then that is what you're going to get offered. So that's the whole point of having a first and a second choice, that you make sure that you put what you really want to study as your first choice. Then, of course, if something happens and you want to change something after you submitted the application, you send an email to us. You will get, once you submitted the application, you will get an email that says that we have received your application. You can respond to that email, reply, and then ask us to help you to, if you have anything that you do want to change. For instance, if you change your mind about the second choice program or the pathway choice for the second choice program. So just contact us with your questions and we will try to help you during the application process as best we can. Motivation letter, you could write one for each master program. You could also write why you want to study specifically in Jönköping. And if you're just applying for a pathway, you just have to say why you want to study a pathway in Sweden and what you want to do with it later on. But the motivation letter is basically why you want to study what you have applied for. And if you have applied for 2 master programs within business, you don't have to write one for each program. That's fine with just one. Why do you want to study in Jönköping? All right. No more questions so far?
Questions, yeah. So here we are.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
How can we learn if your course is filled up or not? Well, that happens when during the application process. It doesn't happen very often, but when it comes to pathway plus, the pathway programs don't often fill up completely. It's the follow-up program at Jönköping University, depending on what program you're interested in. And because we have a set number of places available for each program for specifically the pathway students. So the short answer is we'll tell you when you have submitted your application and we look at it, then we tell you if there's a spot or not. I hope that is a sufficient answer for you, Ray. But that's something that the importance of writing your email address correctly, because we are going to send you information to that email address. It can be, if a program has filled up, it can be something like, oh, remember to do this, or if you then are admitted, we send you information about registration and things to remember when you plan to arrive. And so it should be an email that you are going to use for quite some time and that you have access to. And if for some reason you forget your password to that email and you can't get it, then you have to contact us some other way and let us know, because we won't be able to contact you if you no longer look at that email. So yeah, the email address is really important. I can't stress it enough. We have applications that have come in and we cannot contact the applicant. We can't tell them anything because we keep getting an error message back because they didn't check the spelling of their email address and it's apparently wrong. So it bounces back. So and it tells us, oh, this person can't be found at this, whether it's Gmail, Yahoo, or whatever. Lowest GPA that got accepted. That is a very good question, because that depends on what you're applying for the program after Pathway. So Pathway itself is not where we look at the GPA as much. It's the pre-assessment that we make if you apply for Pathway and a bachelor program or a master program here at Jönköping University. So, and there are differences there as well. So that is hard to say. But it was a good question. I'm sorry I couldn't answer it. Scholarships. Okay. scholarships for the program, because we have to separate, you can apply for scholarship for pathway year, but that's just for tuition, part of tuition for the pathway year. If you then want to apply for scholarship for the master or bachelor program that starts after pathway, you have to submit a new application when the scholarship application is open for that starting period. So if you want to do pathway starting in August of 2022, then you have to wait until February 2023 to submit an application for the master for 2023. And the requirements, basically, we collect the scholarship applications, and then we send it on to each specialist school at Jönköping University, whether it's the School of Engineering or the Business School or the School of Education and Communication. They make the decision, and they base it on the merit of your previous studies. So basically, if you're applying for a scholarship for a master program, they're going to look at your bachelor grades, and you will compete with everyone else who's applied for a scholarship. And there are limited numbers. Not everyone who applies for a scholarship will get it. That is very important to know. If I pass the summer pathway program, can I stay at the accommodation? Oh, that's a good, oh yeah, summer pathway. Okay, the summer pathway, it's a 4-week course, and then there's a week before the bachelor or master program starts. So that means that once you've completed the pathway summer course, you will be able to move into the accommodation, the student accommodation for the master program that weekend. So basically, usually, yes, you can stay at the Campus Granna for until it's time to move into Jönköping in this case. And that's something that the accommodation office has more information about. So I can just say that you don't have to move into a hotel for that week. That's what I can say. Acceptance rate of international management bachelor.
That's a very broad question, right?
Very broad. I'm not quite sure what the meaning is. Acceptance rate. You who wrote that, could you expand on that, please, so we can answer that? And meanwhile, I will check Brian, who's asking if there are restrictions for working and doing a pathway program at the same time. Well, remember this. Our pathway programs are very intense. That means you are going to be in school Monday through Friday from around maybe 8:30 until 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then you have to do your homework. So even though there might not be a restriction on the residence permit for studies when it comes to working, you should remember that your studies is a full-time job. So if you're lucky enough to get a part-time job, then maybe, you know, working on the weekends could work, but your focus should be your studies, because it is going to take a lot of your time. I think we have gotten okay. Schools acceptance rate, percentage of applicants who are admitted. Oh dear. Okay. Now, when it comes to our bachelor and master programs, we have 3 different application periods, or 4. And then the selection groups are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. So it's very difficult to say what the acceptance rate is, because it also depends on what year. We can have a year when we have so many applicants and so few are eligible, or we can have a lot of applicants and everybody's eligible. So it's really hard, because it has nothing to do with, there's nothing normal about the application and admissions process. Each year is unique. Yeah, it's because we have the pathway students that are admitted into bachelor and master programs. We have the applicants who apply directly to the master and bachelor programs, and all of these are separated into whether they are EU citizens or if they're fee-paying non-EU citizens. Then we have the Swedish students in their application period and application form. So yeah, it's not easy to say. We try to admit all who are eligible and basically meet the requirements that we're asking for.
Great. I think, yeah, okay.
There we go. Okay. Yes, the English you get from the pathway programs are accepted by the majority of the universities in Sweden. I think there's one that requires a test no matter what. But the majority of all the universities in Sweden will accept your English from the pathway.
Great.
All right.
Thanks very much, Charlotte, for giving a detailed session and also answering all the questions. And thank you everyone for attending this webinar. And please stay tuned in to our web, because we will be launching a new series of webinars with accommodation and with more pathway, focusing on our external partners like North Park and BI. We will also be coming up with a webinar, a pre-departure, that would be sometime in May. And then we also have some webinars planned with some of the programs we are teaching at JU. So please stay tuned into our website, and you will find all of the information there. And the recording of this webinar will be put up on our web as well, and also on our YouTube channel. So you can always watch it later on, and you can always share with other friends. And yeah, that's it. So thank you very much for attending in, and I wish you all the best, and hopefully see you at Jönköping University. Bye-bye.